Hello, my name is Heidi Rasakari and I work in the Poison Centre team at ECHA, and today I will be presenting a little on the UFI and preparing a Poison Centre notification in Euclid. I'm going to start by giving a very brief regulatory recap before we look at the PCN format for the submission, as well as the IT tools. Then I would like to walk you through the notification process in Euclid, and also we'll take a look at the dossier submission before finishing with the guidance and support. So let's start with the regulatory recap. Poison Centre notifications, or the PCN obligation, has been around for quite a while, since 2009 under Article 45 of the CLP regulation. The duty holders are the EU and EEA downstream users and importers, and it covers mixtures that are classified for human health or physical hazards that are placed on the market. Now, Annex 8 was published in 2017, and this is to harmonise the information requirements in all member states, plus the preparation of data to be in a harmonised format. Now, there are a number of timelines for compliance. So for new mixtures, this is according to the use type of the mixture. So for consumer and professional mixtures, the compliance date begins from January 2021, and for the industrial use mixtures from January 2024. Now, up until the compliance date, national obligations apply. There is also a transition period for existing or notified mixtures, which ends on the 1st of January 2025. Note that this may be earlier if a change is required to the existing notification. Currently, there is a second amendment of Annex 8, and this is dubbed the Workability Amendment. And this is following the identification of generic and sector-specific issues. The solutions presented in the second amendment seek balance for the need of information required by the difficulty to comply and the administrative burden. So it specifically looks at construction products, bespoke paints, fuels, and interchangeable component groups. Let's take a look at the PCN format for the submission, and as well as the IT tools. ECHA has produced already a number of tools to support industry. We have the UFI generator, we have the PCN submission format, the European Product Categorization System in place, as well as specific guidance and technical support. And lastly, we also have the tools to support both the preparation and the submission of Poison Centre notifications. Let's start with a closer look at the UFI. The UFI, which stands for the Unique Formula Identifier, is assigned to a mixture composition. And this UFI is included in both the submission of information plus on the product. And there is an example of a UFI code there. The UFI must also be printed on, or it can be affixed to the label by means of a sticker. In any case, the UFI must be clearly visible and legible, and must be marked or attached in such a way that the UFI doesn't wash off or fall off. Industry has the obligation to generate the UFI, and they can do this in one of two ways, either online in our UFI generator tool, or through the UFI algorithm, which is implemented in a company's own system. Either way, there are two input parameters. There is the company's VAT number. This is not necessarily mandatory, and there are alternatives available if a company does not want to use their VAT number, or if they don't have a VAT number. And the other is the internal formulation number of the mixture. Now, there are no fixed rules concerning the positioning of the UFI on the label, so it can either be in the supplemental information section or close to the product or trade name. I should also point out it's possible to place the UFI outside of the label, and this would be on the inner packaging, but again, it must be located with the other CLP label elements, such as the product identifiers or hazard information. There are a number of derogations for the UFI. So mixtures that are used on industrial sites, the UFI can be alternatively included in the safety data sheet. However, for unpackaged mixtures, the UFI is an information requirement in section 1.1 of the SDS. For products that have multiple packaging layers, the UFI is only required on the inner packaging. So the UFI is not required on the outer packaging, nor is it required on the transport packaging. There are also a few special cases concerning the UFI, and one of them is multi-component products. With multi-component products, each mixture requires its own notification. So this means that these sort of products will have separate labels for each component, and each label will contain its respective UFI. There's also considerations for multi-language labels. So in this case, it is not recommended to include several UFI codes. And if under some exceptional cases that multiple UFIs have been generated for each country, then they should be used in the proximity of the corresponding UFI code. But again, this is not recommended. There is also the special case of small packaging. So in some cases, the inner packaging can be so small or of an awkward shape that it is not possible or very difficult to include the UFI. So in this case, the UFI should be placed in either the fold-out labels, and here it is advised to include the UFI on both the front and the back page. It can also be possible to include it on tie-on tags or even the outer packaging. And there is more information about this in our guidance on labeling and packaging. Let's now take a look at the submission format and the tools. So the PCN format is the harmonized submission format, and this is defined largely by the information requirements defined in Annex 8. Now, the PCN format is also incorporated into our IT tools for dossier preparation. And we have online in Euclid Cloud, which is a nice, easy way to prepare a notification as everything is maintained by ECHA. There is also the possibility, however, for companies to work offline in Euclid 6 by using the latest downloadable version from the Euclid website. And again, for a more automated or bulk approach to dossier preparation, there is also the system-to-system service. And this is where the dossiers and the notifications are actually prepared in a company's own system. There's also several ways to submit a poison center notification. The first being, of course, the ECHA submission portal, which is the centralized tool for preparing and submitting and managing submissions. And this also supports multi-market submissions as well. There is also the system-to-system service for the more automatic and bulk submission of dossiers. And to use this, you would need to request access to the service. The third option covers the national systems. And of course, some member states will keep their national submission systems open, but most will rely on the ECHA submission portal. In any case, the national systems will need to accept the harmonized format from Annex 8. On our Poison Centre website, we have a dedicated page for the ECHA submission portal. This page gives you access to the portal, as well as listing the countries that are currently accepting notifications through the portal. It also provides a link to the submission testing environment and, of course, comprehensive support material as well. Once you get access to the portal and you log in, there you will arrive at the portal dashboard. Now, the portal dashboard is currently available for Poison Centre notification users as well as skip notification users. For Poison Centre notifications, you can create a dossier in Euclid, or you can navigate to submit online, or you can even search your submissions. But first, let's take a look at how to access the ECHA's IT applications. So to gain access, you would first need to create an ECHA account. You would then need to assign a legal entity and define the users as well as their user roles. And full details of this are in our ECHA accounts manual. First, let's look at creating an ECHA account. So an ECHA account allows you to log into all of ECHA's IT applications. This means one username and password to access Reach IT, R4BP3, EPIC, plus the ECHA Cloud Services and Submission Portal. To create an account, you can go to our login page and you can provide your name and contact details and then confirm via email. Next, you need to assign a legal entity. A legal entity is information about the company. And each legal entity is assigned a specific UUID number, and this is mandatory in the dossier. I will point out now that there is a consistency check of this UUID in the dossier as well as in the portal when making a submission. Next, we come to the users and their user roles. So once the users have been created through a wizard, you would then define their roles. And it's very important to define the correct role. Of course, the legal entity manager is the person who has created the account, but more legal entity managers can be added and are advised to. The submission portal manager allows, this role allows the user to make submissions in the portal, and the role Euclid Full Access allows the user to create and work in the Euclid Cloud Services. It is also here where you can add consultants to work on behalf of your company once you appoint them as a foreign user. So let's look a little at how to create a dossier in Euclid. So first, before you get to the dossier, you need to create a data set. And a data set is an editable version of the dossier. Then you would need to fill in the dossier header, enter all the information, and then validate this information before creating your actual dossier. The dossier being a snapshot of all of the information that has been entered. You can follow our step-by-step instructions in our PCN practical guide. If we have a look briefly at these steps to create a dataset, you would first arrive at the Euclid dashboard. Here you can see in the mixtures section is where you would create your PCN notification. So first we create a new mixture dataset. We would need to then specify a working context, which in this case is CLP Poison Centre notification. And then you would need to open the draft dossier header. We'll have a look at the dossier header, as this contains the information that defines the validation rules. It also establishes the free text fields for certain sections according to the specific languages that have been chosen here. Also, I should point out that the submission type selection is only relevant in specific cases, and the group submission is currently not supported and will happen only in 2021 next year. The limited submission is for industrial use only, and voluntary submissions can be for non-duty holders or mixtures that are out of scope. Next, we'll look at how to enter the required information. So, from the October release that we've just had of the tools, there is now a navigation tree that allows you to move from dossier header to all the other sections of the notification. And this can be done by clicking on the expandable and collapsible windows with the arrows. You can also create new documents to enter the information, as well as delete these documents as well. We will have new support material which covers step-by-step instructions in our PCN practical guide and video tutorial. What I would like to do is just look at a few slides on the mixture composition document. So this document contains all the components, so these can be substances or further mixture in mixtures. And these are all added here. There are now a number of checkboxes that can be used to flag special components such as generic component identifiers, interchangeable component groups, and standard formulas. Let's take a look at those. The generic component identifier has been recently renamed from the generic product identifier, and it concerns perfumes or colouring agents if they are not classified for any health hazard. Now, GCIs or generic component identifiers is an option for the user, and it can be created for either substances or mixtures in mixtures. In the notification, you would need to enter a name for your GCI plus the function, being either perfume or colouring agent, as well as the concentration, and then tick the GCI checkbox. Next is standard formulas. So for certain construction products that conform with a particular composition corresponding to standard formulas, which are now listed in Part D of Annex 8, these can be notified according to that formula's components and concentration. Now, fuels are also listed in the newly established Table 3 in Annex 8, and these fuels, certain fuels, can be identified according to the safety data sheet. In the Poison Centre notification, these are technically handled as a standard formula. And once in there, in the notification, you would select the correct standard formula from a pick list, and you would then individually add each of the components and flag them in the notification. By flagging the components, this allows the system to apply a different and less stringent validation rule set. Also, the validation rules for fuels will differ from the rules from the construction products. Next, we come to the interchangeable component groups. So this is a cross-sector solution, and it means to address the situation where there is an unknown mixture composition due to a change in components. Now, this could be, for example, where you have the same component, but you have used different suppliers. Now, an interchangeable component group consists of a number of interchangeable components where each component can be used interchangeably in a mixture without altering the mixture's overall classification, hazard, or emergency health response. In the Poison Center notification, an ICG is first created, and it must be created as a mixture, and the interchangeable components are added and flagged. Of course, the concentration is given to the group rather than the individual components. And lastly, in mixture composition, I would like to just mention a few words about the reference substance. So every substance component that is created in the mixture composition document must be linked to a reference substance document. Now, the reference substance document defines the identity of a substance, and it can be created either on the spot while you're creating the notification, or it can be downloaded from the Euclid website and imported into your working environment. Now, reference substance documents can be selected for reuse, but only once it is in the working environment. I'd like to just say a few words on the toxicological information section. Now, this section consists of free text fields, and this is according to section 11 of the safety datasheet. This information is also required in all of the languages that has been indicated in the draft dossier header. And finally, I would like to say that this information must be standalone information, meaning that it shouldn't refer to other sections of the safety datasheet. Okay, now I would like to talk a little on the validation and creation process. There are now over 120 different validation rules that have been implemented in the validation assistant, and these can be checked by you before you submit, as well as a number of rules that we call the portal assistant, which looks at making some automated checks upon the submission. Now, there is a list of all of our validation rules available on our Poison Center website. The validation assistant is integrated into the preparation tools, and this allows you to check the information at any point in time. Now, the checks look for the presence of information plus the quality of information, and it also performs an internal dossier consistency check. Once you validate the information, you will receive a validation report, and this displays the outcome of the checks. So if there are no failures, it will indicate that the dossier will be accepted into the system and forwarded to the relevant authorities. In some cases, the validation checks might trigger a quality rule. Dossiers containing quality rules will be accepted by the system, and they will be forwarded to the authorities, but it will be forwarded along with the validation report. And this report will highlight potential deficiencies. And this may mean that the authorities may want to come back and check the information. Now, if the validation report indicates failures, this will mean that the dossier will not be accepted by the system. So you are advised to go back to the data set, fix the errors, create a dossier, and resubmit. If we look at submitting the dossier now, first you would upload and submit the created dossier, get the submission report, and then place on the market and potentially update where relevant. Let's look at upload and submit. Now, after the dossier has been created, you would be able to go straight to the proceed to submission. This is if you are working online. In this situation, the file is automatically uploaded and you can submit. Alternatively, you can also opt for manual upload of a dossier in the import box. And once you submit, and you receive a successful submission notification, a submission number is assigned. Now, this submission number links straight to the submission report. In the submission report, you will see a summary of the whole submission. So you will see the status of the submission, so either succeeded, or if it contains warnings, or if it has failed. It also gives a brief information on the product information, as well as the submission information. So if it is an initial or update, as well as information on the mixture. There is also a submission history box, which also looks at the life cycle of that particular notification. Also, importantly, on the right side, you will see the list of member states for market placement, as well as the submission events. And this is critical to determine when you can place on the market. There is also the possibility to search your submissions. So this can be done either by a sort functionality, or by using the scrolling functionality at the bottom of the page. Or you can even enter specific search criteria. The submission number, again, links to the submission report, and you can also see with the symbols if the submission is an initial or update, or if it has passed or failed. Now we come to placing on the market. ECHA receives information from the member states, and when we receive new information, we make this available as soon as we can. Now, we have a particular member states overview table which looks at certain things such as the readiness of a member state to accept portal notifications, as well as the submission system options that will be in place. It also looks at the languages that are accepted by a particular member state and if they intend to charge any fees. And also when a member state considers that they can place on the market. But there are a few considerations. So firstly, I should mention that not all countries are ready to accept harmonized notifications via the portal, and until such time, national obligations do apply. Any submissions that have been made to member states not accepting portal submissions are not considered as fulfilling their legal requirements. But in any case, these will remain in the database until the member state is connected and receiving such notifications. The submission report will indicate when the notification has been received by a particular member state, but you will still need to check if that in the member states overview table, you will need to check to confirm if the member state is actually connected and accepting the submitted notifications. Next, we'll look at updates and keeping the information up to date. Now, there are a number of considerations, but in general, a notification should be valid and up to date at all times. Now, an updated notification is a revised version of the whole notification, so it doesn't consist of you just providing the new information, but it has to be the whole package. And you would need to update your notification before the changes take place in a number of situations. This being if you change the mixture product identifier, or if the mixture has new classification or toxicological data that has become available, as well as if there are any changes in the composition outside of the allowed ranges in Annex 8. So in these situations, you would need to make the notification before the mixture as changed is placed on the market. Of course, there are other types of updates, which should be made without undue delay, as they may have an impact on the work of the poison centres. This could be new packaging types, change in emergency contact details, or even the correction of an error. Now, in some cases, when the composition changes so significantly that it goes outside of the allowed ranges of Annex 8, this would mean a new UFI as well. Now, to indicate an update, you would go back to the dataset, and in the draft dossier header, you would make the relevant selection in the notification type. So if it's a change of composition or if it's a general update. In the case of a general update, you would need to provide a justification. Now, finally, a few words on the guidance and support that we have. We have the Annex 8 guidance. This is the most relevant guidance here. And we have version 3, which is currently translated. And we are currently working with our stakeholders on version 4. And this version 4 will cover the text for the second Annex 8 amendments. And this is also expected sometime next year. But there is also other guidance that may be relevant depending on your situation. So we have the labeling and packaging guidance, which I mentioned before about the UFI. We also have guidance, REACH guidance on substances in articles, safety data sheet, and also substance identity and naming. We also have a PCN practical guide, which has been recently updated and offers step-by-step on how to access the tools, prepare a dossier, validate and create, as well as generate a PCN preview report. I would also like to point out our e-learning page. So if you would like more visual support material, we have a number of animations and webinars and videos that you can refer to. And we also have a new video tutorial, which is how to prepare a dossier following the October release. This is our Poison Centre website. It features the news as well as quick links to our tools with the relevant support. But we also have a dedicated support page. So you will find here question and answers, the most frequently asked. We have the e-learning page there, which as I just mentioned. We have a number of in-brief publications which have been translated. And also how to contact ECHA, or if you need to contact any national help desks or appointed bodies. We also have a Steps for Industry page, and you can see the link on the screen here. And this covers step-by-step the process of getting started to finishing. I would also like to take this opportunity to ask you to connect with us on LinkedIn. And this is also another way for you to keep up to date with the latest news from the Poison Centre team. You can also post questions there, and we also encourage you to join in on the community discussion. And if you need more help, of course, you also have the national help desks at your disposal, as well as the ECHA help desk. And if you are wanting to ask specific questions on Poison Centre topics, then you can request in the request type Annex 8 Poison Centres. This concludes my presentation today. Thank you very much for your attention.